Well, it's done. Okay, almost. El Salvador is set to become the first nation in the world to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. The crypto world is abuzz. The president of El Salvador is already pictured with the famous laser eye symbols of Bitcoiners who think Bitcoin will go up to $100,000. But what exactly are we talking about? What is the purpose of the legal tender, and what does it change for the cryptocurrencies? Come on, let's go. The first obvious observation is that if Bitcoin becomes legal tender in a country, it is an asset for its credibility because it means that a population recognizes its usefulness and legitimacy as a currency. Symbolically, this is very strong. However, this symbolic dimension is related to the weight of El Salvador in the international community. El Salvador, therefore, is a small country in Central America where the weather is warm and sunny and the population is 6.5 million. A rather poor country with a GDP per capita of $4,000 when the standard of living is $60,000 in the US. El Salvador has a hard life because its currency collapsed in 2001. It really collapsed. It disappeared and was replaced by the US dollar. Today, it is a country without its own currency, which possesses a huge problem because it is a country that does not have control over its currency. It works with the US dollar. So to put it simply, El Salvador is a country that produces mainly services, raw materials such as coffee and low-cost manufacturing products, and all of this is mainly at the service of the US and Europe. Moreover, this country has almost no raw materials except for some local productions like coffee, so it is eminently dependent on the US in particular, hence the replacement of the Salvadoran colon by the dollar. In short, El Salvador has serious economic, social, and political problems. To give you an idea, the president in place, Nayib Bukele, made the army intervene to force the deputies to vote on a law of endowment for the military in February 2020, which is not very old. I'm not judging whether it's legitimate or not because I don't know this country, but basically it's never a sign of stability and serenity in a country when the army invites itself to the parliament at the request of the president. As you can see, when El Salvador announces that it is making Bitcoin a legal tender, it is exceptional for Bitcoin, but the world looks at this news with a lot of condescension. However, El Salvador is still a real country, and one can wonder what the consequences of making Bitcoin legal tender will be, as it may be quite surprising on a global scale. Already for the inhabitants of this country, Bitcoin could be the most legal way in the world to build up savings when 70% of the inhabitants do not have access to a bank account. Locally, this is a very good idea because the ability to save is a necessary step in setting up a capitalist economy. Saving means being able to anticipate the future. A savings industry also allows you to invest your money. Today, with Bitcoin, you can easily find interest rates of 6%. So yes, this may seem a bit useless to us Westerners because the price of Bitcoin is very volatile, and the risks associated with these remuneration mechanisms via decentralized finance platforms are basically quite uncontrolled. The reason is simple. They've not been around long. A few years at most. But hey, when you have nothing and access to nothing, well, a saving associated with an interest rate is better than nothing. From El Salvador's point of view, I think it's a good idea. When you have nothing or not much, it's better to try something than to do nothing. Now, from the world's perspective, fiscally, when you buy Bitcoin, the law considers that you are buying an asset like a car or gold, so you're taxed on capital gains when you convert your Bitcoins into a country's currency. The current practice is to stay in crypto by using stablecoins to avoid capital gains. On the other hand, when you travel in a foreign country, if you convert your dollars or euros into pounds and you come back in your national currency, you don't pay any capital gain if the exchange rate has moved in your favor because you haven't bought and sold an asset. You've done a simple exchange operation between currency that are legal tender. And here it gets interesting. Let's say I have 200,000 euros in cryptocurrencies in a wallet that is duly declared to the tax authorities, and I go on vacation to El Salvador for 6 months, which doesn't cost much. Once there, to make it more convenient, I exchange my Bitcoin at the bank for US dollars. So I perform an exchange operation between two currencies that are legal tender. Then, when I leave, I buy $200,000 worth of Bitcoins with my 200,000 US dollars. So, I'm back in my country with proof of purchase of my $200 worth of Bitcoins for 200 US dollars. As a result, my capital gain is zero in all legality because I am able to prove how I bought my Bitcoin in US dollars. The ultimate convenience, I didn't even have to make a bank transfer from El Salvador to my main bank in my home country because I came back with a Bitcoin wallet as proof of transaction. Funny, isn't it? Well, actually, I'm not sure the US or Europe will find this amusing for very long. But hey, this kind of question will come up, and the answer will be doubly complicated. Complicated once because my transaction is made on dollars, legitimate currency par excellence. Complicated a second time because El Salvador is not on the list of tax havens. At some point, we will have to explain that there are countries that are more or less equal to others. The debate is going to be fierce and has already started to be talked about. Trump has already declared that Bitcoin is bullshit and that the dollar should remain the world currency. Atmosphere. Another aspect is whether companies will move to El Salvador to create native Bitcoin compatibility and be headquartered in a country that should be facilitating this type of project. Honestly, I don't know because setting up a business in Central America in a country with a high crime rate which remains closely under the domination of the dollar and the US remains a challenge in its own right. Personally, I prefer Switzerland. On the other hand, I would like to address a question that I'm being asked at the moment. Where is the Bitcoin price going? Why isn't it recovering? My answer is simple. I don't know, and I don't care. As I told you before, the volatility of Bitcoin relative to its performance is quite normal. The Sharpe ratio tells us that Bitcoin is the most profitable asset per unit of risk. Put another way, you make a lot of money with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is very risky. It's up to you to decide what that risk is. If you think it's a bubble, then you've already lost 50% of your bet because the bubble is probably bursting. You made a bet, you gambled, and you're losing. That's life. On the other hand, if you think that a fundamental promise of Bitcoin is solid, then you know that you are watching a simple price movement that doesn't necessarily make sense in itself. In my opinion, no one can know why it's going down, and no one can know why it is going up in the very short term. For me, looking for the reasons for the fall in Elon Musk, China, or El Salvador is like trying to see faces in the clouds. The stock market is a complex system, and in the short term, chance is much more important in the formation of the price than the fundamental variation of the value. So it doesn't make sense to rack your brains to see what the price of Bitcoin will do on a yearly basis. All I know, thanks to Naystar, my online free management assistance platform, is that the price of Bitcoin is approaching -1 standard deviation, which is quite trivial. And that below -1 standard deviation, I will be able to buy some because it is significantly below its long-term average. If it goes to -2 standard deviations, then I will have to choose sides. Either buy it because it will be heavily underpriced, or judge that it was just a joke. Everyone will judge. In any case, to call this small movement on the scale of Bitcoin, of course, of -50% a crash, is amateurish or fantasy. In conclusion, as far as El Salvador is concerned, I'm terribly curious to see how this will play out. Will the current president go through with it? Probably, but that remains to be seen, as he is still a politician under pressure from countries much larger than his own. How will the other powers react? Will they have to explain that there are countries that are more legitimate than others to decide what is a currency or not? Will the US bring into play the imperial rule of extraterritorialization of US law for any use of the dollar to crash the momentum of this initiative? All this is going to be very exciting, so I'll see you soon for new videos. Ciao.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell if you want to be notified of the next episode.